Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino back with you to talk about the finale of the first ever Buddy Games here on the Hit or Quit podcast, where every week we join you to find out who sucked the least. And we now found out which Buddy Games team sucked the least. It was Team OK. Let's find out if Jenny is okay. Jenny Autumn. Jenny, how are you?
I'm great. I'm more than okay.
More than
I'm
okay.
excellent. I thought this podcast is the Buddy Games finale podcast. We were going to find out which one of us sucks the least, and I feel like it's
Yeah.
a runaway win for you here. But I'll do my best. I am the team. Well, I guess I'm not team okay of this podcast because then that means I'm the winner. But I would usually describe myself as just okay.
Yeah. Okay. And we're part of a team. It's not a
That's
competition on
true.
this podcast.
Actually,
So,
that's true. Then I guess then we win.
yeah,
In terms of hit or quit podcasting, we're killing it.
Team OK has gone on to win the first ever Buddy Games championship across basically the two-part finale that we got to see. Jenny, first off, sadly, I was spoiled on the outcome of this.
Oh, no.
And it
Wow.
happened in Brea, California. I just got back from going out to the West Coast. We did 2 nights of shows that were great in Brea, California. But
Looked
at
very
9
fun.
p.m., or at like 8:58 p.m. when we switched over to CBS for the live viewing of Big Brother,
Oh,
I see
no.
Team OK hoisting the trophy in the air, the beers, and
Wow.
it's like Team OK. I'm like, really? I get spoiled on Buddy
Yeah.
Games like not like this.
That's the problem because I think in any other scenario, if you weren't doing a live show of Big Brother that aired right after, you
Mhm.
probably wouldn't have switched over in those few minutes. But at these live shows, you got to make sure that the tech is ready. You got to make
Yeah,
sure you're on the right channel, ready to go. So it's like, what are you supposed to do? Put up a big sheet of
yeah.
like a blanket in front of the giant
Yeah,
screen
I
and
will say, and the only person in the crowd who was annoyed about this turn of events seemed to be me. I did not hear one other groan in the crowd of like, "Oh, I was gonna watch Buddy
I was
Games when
gonna
I
watch
got
that
home."
later.
Yeah,
I
it
had
was
it
just me. It
DVR'd.
was just me. And
Well,
also, I
Rob,
I just was
your
getting yes.
I was just gonna say your prediction came true. So it's like you weren't
Oh,
even annoyed.
I
Like
know.
maybe you were delighted to be like, okay, I called this.
Yes, I did see the Buddy Games Edgic
Yeah.
coming into form going into last week's episode. But also, like,
Yeah, I
I
called it.
also people seemed puzzled why I seem to be annoyed about this. People did not even seem to know that Buddy Games like was a thing.
Did they not? Wow. Okay. First of all, can't believe how many people told on themselves that
Hmm.
they are not avid listeners of the
The
incredible Hit
Buddy
or Quit
Games, yeah.
podcast and
Hmm.
that they didn't even realize how invested you and I have become in buddy games specifically.
Yeah.
So quite hurtful that, big fans of RHAP, going to watch Big Brother 25 at its worst point in the season live with you
Hmm.
guys didn't even know that buddy games is a thing and we've been here every damn week, okay?
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm sorry that you got spoiled. I was pretty upset when I got spoiled that the Derby squad was
Yeah.
eliminated. So I can only imagine uh being spoiled on the grand finale, but I think it was bound to happen just given the circumstances. I don't think you could have avoided that, Rob.
Yeah. Okay. What are you gonna do? All right. So, but
What are
it's
you
not
gonna do?
about me. It's about Team OK, the winners of the first ever Buddy
Yes.
Games. And as I was saying last week on the podcast, I did feel like that from the Buddy Games perspective, like this was the team that I thought embodied what the show's vision of the Buddy Games were of like, hey, like doesn't being a grown up suck? Don't you want
Yeah.
to just get back and hang out with your buddies? And I feel like that of these teams, this is like the group that was together as like, young adults who have stayed
Mhm.
together over the years, but are trying to recapture some of that lost youth.
They are the buddiest of the buddies, or at least, like, the
At
gamiest
least the
of the
huddiest of
buddies.
the buddies.
They're definitely the huddiest of the buddies.
Hmm.
Well, the other thing is, like, when we see their little, like, winter package at the end, we are reminded, and I forgot that we learned this about them when the teams were introduced to us in the premiere, is that these guys have already been doing their own version of buddy game. So, and I
Battle
don't think that
tested.
any of the other teams were doing this, but we get, them explaining that this isn't just about the four of them. And let's not forget Craig,
Oh,
that
he's getting a full cut.
Craig got a lot of screen time. I think Craig got more content in this finale than some of the people on Chicago's Finest.
Mhm.
But yeah, like they have like a group of 20 plus friends back home that have been doing I'm pretty sure the sign said man Olympics.
Man Olympics. Yeah,
But
maybe
like
that
it
we're
looks
glossing over that.
it is like, can we have someone stand in front of that? Because they
Bro
showed this like
Olympics was right there, Team OK.
Bro Olympics, I know. They really I hope by now if they're still doing this.
There's still
First of all,
time to rebrand. Yeah,
you can't call it buddy games because that's Josh
sure.
Duhamel's IP, so you can't do
Mhm.
that. But if you would like to consider Bro Olympics, I think that is way better. But it seems like they've been doing this, so this is exactly who should win if we're thinking about this show as like the winners should really embody the spirit of like what Josh Duhamel created here, right? So
Mhm.
I think all in all, I'm very satisfied with the end. I think that it was a good team to win. And I love that we had I guess technically underdog team win in that there were only three of them. For most of the season. Like they lost Craig episode 2, didn't they? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, pretty early on. So they were
So,
able to continue to battle to get to this point. So congratulations to Team OK.
yes.
Jenny, I did feel like that overall though, that buddy games, like if I was gonna like look at the course of the season of buddy games
Mm,
from, we're the world's top buddy games analysts.
that's right.
I felt like that it was a slow start to the season, but
Mhm.
also a slow finish to the season.
Yeah, it
And I
went
felt
out a
like
little bit like a whimper, right?
yeah, and I feel like that the arc of the season was truly like a peak in the middle, where
Yes.
and even like we were flashing back to the drama of the pageant queens, even still in this
Thank you,
episode. And I
queens.
feel like that
Mhm.
there was that, and then there was like some fallout from all of that, as it pertained to the Derby squad. But I do feel like that, like losing the Derby squad, also, who I think
Yeah.
were adding a lot to the fun of the show, not to say anything about these like four teams that got to this point, but I felt like
Mhm.
that without the drama from the pageant queens and sort of like the real like spunk that we got from the Derby squad, I felt like
Yep.
that this ending, especially also the tasks, also as we were talking about last week, that I feel like that a buddy games activity, like I think is very specifically like something that you would not see on any other normal reality
Yep.
show. I felt like
Yep.
that the tasks were a little mundane in terms
A little
of like what we
uninspired. Yeah.
yeah, and I know like we did some stuff that was like kind of creepy with the going into like trying to do like a little bit of a haunted house scavenger hunt, but even the final tasks were, a little bit just like run of the mill.
I completely agree with everything you said here. I feel, that part of the reason I was really upset when we lost Derby Squad is because I felt like even though, the pageant queens brought the drama in terms of like fighting with each other and all of that, and we will never forget them. They will go down in Buddy Games history for what
Mhm.
they did in their short time on the show. But I felt like the Derby Squad, all four of them had like a good amount of personality. Like they all in all, that was probably like the best well-rounded cast for a
Mhm.
team because I felt like we got flickers of like all of their personalities and they were all very, very fun energy. So I felt like having them even just being a part of the group, like you're gonna get more little like comments and like they have good banter with like the other teams. So I felt like when they were gone, we kind of lost some of that like energy. And also I completely agree that the tasks got kind of weak. Like we were saying this, I think last week. We kind of lost some of the really ridiculous, silly things peppered in. Like obviously, there's going to be like some physical elements and like solving puzzles or balance or whatever. Like parts of normal challenges you'd get on a Survivor or Big Brother or whatever. But what I thought unique to buddy games in the early part was like you were getting stuff that was stupid and very like camp-esque, where it's like you're eating gross
It's
curdled mac and
giving camp,
cheese.
right?
It's giving camp, and then they stopped giving camp, I felt, in like the second half here, where I didn't understand the like go down into the like the well and haunted house. Like that was so weird. And then there was like there was like stuff from the lodge in there, but it was like they could have made that more silly. It felt very out of place as like a theme near the end. And then like the final buddy game, it had elements of things that they had done in previous challenges, which I guess cool, that makes sense if you're going to try and, bring back
Mhm.
pieces of things you've done before as like the ultimate buddy game. But like they should have had a point where they had to like eat 10 hot dogs each or something. You know what I mean? Like just something dumb like
Right.
that still could have been really like low cost, low stakes, but I just felt like it was missing some of the silliness that was supposed to be buddy games.
Yeah. I think that buddy games really tries to do two different things. And I think it may need to like ultimately pick a lane, I think, or at least that we have a lane that we really like more,
Mhm.
where that they talk about buddy
Which
games
matters.
as like, okay, hey, like you're older now, but don't you want to like get back together with your friends and do crazy drunk stuff like you used to
Yeah.
do? Like I think that's the part that we like. But then they also sometimes talk about buddy games as like it's adult summer camp. So we get into sort of like the types of things that maybe like, 12-year-olds might be doing at like a summer camp relay race type
Right.
activities, haunted house, spooky haunted scary stories. We're gonna have like these relay races and go-karts. And I feel like that's the stuff that I don't think is as fun as the other things that are sort of more of the hijinks.
I completely agree. And also trying to figure out like what the identity of the show, like what time slot does this belong at? Like
Mhm.
is this a show for family, or can we get like a little bit like 9-10 p.m. with it? I mean, Rob, I think you're going to be on board with what I am going to suggest here.
Okay.
I think this that they need to cast more like messy divorcees. Like, because
Whoa.
well, I'm just saying they don't need to make, because I understand the concept is like you're casting like older people who, they're not in the stage of their life anymore where they're
Mhm.
constantly they're not in college or straight out of college where all their friends still live in the same city and we all hang out and do stuff. Like that part I don't think that they need to change, because that is probably one of the most key spirits of buddy games, the concept. But I think because it's pretty much everyone that they cast seem to be married with kids, like happy, which is great.
Mhm.
I'm not saying cast unhappy people, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying like if we want there to be a little bit more drama, and like you said it first in these early podcasts we
Yeah.
did, you're like, I want to see hooking up, I want to see, you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
let's get a little racy at the lodge life. If you cast a few real messy divorcees that are like, hey,
Mhm.
I don't get time away from my kids to be around other singles, that like pepper a little bit of that in, because you could get like teams getting frustrated with each other because like, maybe you've got like alpha mom here who's like happy at home with her
Yeah.
like family, and what her girlfriend who's like a messy queen and is like in her like divorcee era is like getting a little too frisky with some of these other people and making a mess of the game.
Sure.
Like that could be fun.
Yeah, just like in retrospect, the things that we liked about buddy games, and I tell me if I'm, you don't have to consent to any of these takes that I'm having. Please, stop me. But
Okay.
I feel like the things that really we liked was when it got messy and when there was
Mhm.
like a little bit. I mean, there really wasn't a ton of strategy that was going on, but there was maybe like a hint of it. And I think that buddy games ultimately ends up being a little bit like a watered down season of the challenge, where
Yes.
like it doesn't get like as messy as the challenge. There's certainly like not as much like intrigue going on at the lodge. There's less strategy. And the games, I feel like ultimately, if that's your thing, are not as interesting as something like the challenge.
I think they need less games. I think that I understand it's literally called buddy games, so that like the challenge aspect of it is important. And I'm not saying get rid of it, but we had numerous episodes where there were like 3 different games. If you had like, an elaborate curveball, the
Yeah.
actual buddy game, and then loser last stand. And like in a 43-minute episode, you can't really you there's so many people. It's so
Yeah.
hard to like get attached to any of the cast. It's so hard to like learn about people. There's less room for, if there was any sort of strategic stuff going on, to even show it.
Yeah.
So I feel like even maybe like rethinking one of the components of the game, whether it's like maybe it's the curveball, because when the curveball was set up in a way that it could have strategy, like when we had that one iconic week
Mhm.
where,
And there was campaigning, and there was
yeah,
like the teams were going back and forth, and there was the betrayal.
yeah, where you were going to save a team and then ultimately throw another team in, like, that was build in more things that aren't just, like, carnival games, like, stuff in the backyard
Mhm.
that buckets and, like, all of that nonsense, because you're getting enough of that. We're repeating a lot of the same stuff in these games anyway. Like, scale that stuff down and make the curveball a little bit more of a social element of the game, where you could actually draw upon like people's
Yeah.
relationships and like
Yeah.
the strategy of it. I think just, and then gets rid of watching another boring challenge.
Yeah, honestly, like I feel like that you could probably get down to 2 challenges in the
Yeah.
episode. If you have like sort of like the main game, and then the winner of the main game, they get to pick which 2 teams go into loser's last stand. And so it's like there is like some sort of like social politics of
Yes.
who are they trying to get rid of. And so you don't have to have like a curveball to set up in the main game, and then the losers from the main game go into the ultimate loser's last stand at the end of the episode. I think you can streamline that and give us more of like we liked a lot of the teams. We thought that the personalities were fun. There were standouts
Mhm.
from almost every single team, and so it was, that was the stuff that we enjoyed of buddy games.
Yeah, and so give us more opportunities to see them. I love the idea about the whoever wins the buddy game being in power of, like, because like that's kind of how the challenge does it a lot.
Mhm.
Um and so much of the story of this show is that like you make these new lifelong friends like you would at camp, and it's adult summer camp, and it's like, okay, but if you want there to be drama, and if the point Josh Duhamel said numerous times, like, this is gonna test your friendships. I don't think that there were enough opportunities to test the friendships. I think we got incredibly lucky that we had a team that clearly didn't have a very solid foundation in the first place with the pageant queens,
Mhm.
um that was well cast, because we ended up getting natural drama from that. But I think that there needs to be more elements built into the game to create a higher chance
Yeah.
of these things happening, and not just like hope that you strike gold once again. If we get a buddy game season 2, which are you
I think we
still
will. I think we will. I
okay?
didn't look at the ratings from Thursday, but I think that there is probably enough there, and the audience. It wasn't like that. The ratings were bad.
Yeah. And here's my hope for buddy games. So, well, first of all, Josh, if you're listening, please take some of these considerations. I
We
think
would
that we have some
love
good.
to, yeah. Well, we
We
would
want buddy games to thrive.
we would
We
love to do
do.
a call with the producers of Buddy
Yeah.
Games and give our thoughts. Here's our downloads
Yeah.
because we can
Yeah,
help.
please. We can help, because we're on these hit or quit streets, and we want to
We're
hit
the biggest
we
Buddy
want.
Games advocates out there.
Yes, and we want to cover a show and enjoy it. We don't wanna quit, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So we are aware of the elements that make a show, like, continuously watchable and not. So if anything, I feel like, Rob, because we've watched some bad stuff, I feel like
Mhm.
we are really good at kind of, like, picking out what makes a show good and what makes it something that you could continue watching. So I feel like if the Buddy Games crew wants to figure things out here and make season 2 even better, I think we got some great ideas. The other thing I'm hoping for here, if we do get Buddy Games season 2, is, and I'm not comparing this to Claim to Fame in terms of, because I think Claim to Fame was like obviously season 1 was like amazing, like from the jump, like it got it right.
Yeah.
But I felt like the second season, the cast was incredible. Like they did an even better job with the casting. And so I think obviously like there's some structural things that they could do to make the show better, but I'm hopeful that like now that they've done it, and they've seen like what worked with casting, and like maybe they saw some people where it's like, maybe, this wasn't like, this didn't jump off the screen, or like maybe we needed a bit more of these kinds of personalities and we had too many of like the good guy kind of. And I think that maybe, because you always learn from the first go. So maybe if we get a really dynamite cast, if there's a maybe bigger pool, because now everyone's watched Buddy Games, been like, this looks fun.
Hmm.
Like, this won't ruin my life, right? So whereas like watching a lot of reality shows, you're like, I would like to do this, but it also might ruin my life. I feel like Buddy Games is like low stakes in terms of participating, and they want normal type of people with like a little bit of personality. And maybe they purposely cast more teams that are kind of like the pageant queens, that like they're friends but they're not like, you know
Frenemies. Yeah.
yeah, where like, they're gonna come together on a common goal, but like the foundation's shaky, maybe that's good for the show. So I'm hopeful that if we do get this, that they're gonna do an even better job with casting for season 2, and that can only make the show better, but leave room for us to learn about them and see them and have them interact more.
All right, we've given you our thoughts of
Yeah.
the buddy games format moving forward, but let's dig in a little bit in terms of what we saw in the actual finale. And it was a
Yeah.
cliffhanger going back to last week where we saw where Sarge and Andrew and Huddy, they were named their captains. I think that that was appropriate. I think that
MVP.
those were the captains of
I
each of their
think
respective teams.
completely made sense. Yes.
And so they got brought blindfolded
In the back
underground,
of a pickup
the
truck.
back of the pickup truck, then unblindfolded to
Mhm.
reveal that they were in some sort of like a bunker,
It was like a hole in the
a hole
ground
in
that
the
they had to go
ground,
down a ladder.
and there was a
It
bunch of
Yeah, it was like
stuff
an
in
underground
there.
bunker. Yeah, it
Yeah,
was weird.
and there was like hay and board games and a pungent smell.
It was so weird. It was they go down there, and the point of it is that they are um trying to find keys with their team names on it, and then the keys only work for their boxes, and or they need the 3 keys to unlock a box, and then that is it. Um I just didn't understand what I was watching. It was like I just felt like it didn't play out maybe how they thought it would in their mind. And if they wanted to make it like a spooky thing, because it was dark, it looked wet and stinky, and like, there was just random items
Dank.
strewn. It did look dank. It probably was hotter and damper.
Hmm.
But it just, I felt like they could have done more. Like, have some people, like, it's like a haunted house where there's like an old man sitting in a rocking chair in the corner, and he jumps
Ooh.
up and scares you at some point.
Jump
Like
scares? You like that?
w- one of the only things I remember seeing was like there was like a battleship board game like
Battleship. I
strewn
think the
somewhere.
Game of Life was there also.
Yeah. And
It
I was
was they
just like,
said it was objects from the lodge. So I
yeah,
guess they just like, okay, we gotta get rid of this stuff anyway. So let's just
but
throw it in the
why?
dank hole.
But why? Like was Huddy gonna get confused that the game of life was his key? Like, I didn't understand the
Mhm.
point. Like, oh, there's a box in the way. Like, I guess I'll just move this box out of the way. I don't know. It just seemed very bizarre and random, and just such a different vibe from all of the other stuff that they were doing. And again, lacking the silliness. Like, there should
Yeah.
have been things hanging from I don't know if there was a ceiling. There should have been like silly things hanging from the ceiling that like you want to see like more of those like wipeout moments where like, someone's getting like hit in the face with a hot dog. I don't know
Mhm.
why I'm all about hot dogs today, but I really think that they could have done more with hot dogs.
Lots of glizzy
Um,
talk today.
yeah, like they could have had some hanging glizzies, just like, and you're
Yeah,
you're
maybe
you're
that was like a
getting.
sabotage the other teams could have done or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I just felt like it was really boring to watch the three of them in a dark room trying to find keys.
Yeah.
It didn't hit for me, you
Yeah.
know?
All right. Well, ultimately, Chicago Pride is going to win it. Sarge gets the third
Sarge does
key.
it. Yeah.
Josh Duhamel is like, wow, Sarge, what a stud.
Yeah. I love when Josh like gets excited and shows affection to the teams. Listen, there's nothing I love more than like platonic male friendships and showing affection, like, and like I just that is one of my favorite things.
Mhm.
So anytime Josh was like, there's numerous times he loves like slapping Yo's cheeks. Have you noticed? He's constantly like going like, oh, like to Yo's cheeks. I just
Yeah.
turned music on my AirPods by doing this. Oh my gosh.
Be
Hold on.
careful,
We
Jenny.
we
Be
Spotify,
careful.
stop. Oh my
Yeah.
god. I just
See,
added like a
I was thinking
soundtrack to
that
what
could
was
be one of the
happening.
ways that they could be sabotaging the other teams in the haunted house, where that the other teams have like a microphone where they can be like messing with the other people while they're looking for the trinkets, the keys.
Yeah, like there were opportunities, and like the rest of the lodge just sat there and waited for them, had no idea what they were
Like,
doing. And I think
boy,
that like,
I hope Andrew's okay. I wish we could be cheering for him.
yeah, it's just like involve them somehow. Like they're just literally sitting there. I don't know why I remembered this, but there was like such a weird interaction where like um they're like just having beers sitting around the table, and it's not interesting.
Hmm.
Like they're just being like, I hope they're okay, I wonder what's happening. And like Yo comes down like and sits down, and I guess he got like a lime for his Corona, and Palmer's like, how'd you get a lime? And Yo's like, I cut limes. Like it
Yeah.
was just like such a stupid interaction, but I was like, that's literally all that's happening. They're just sitting around the table having some Coronas or some souls or whatever, and being like, I wonder what's happening. Like involve
Hmm.
them then. Let's make this a little silly. Like why did we take 3 people and just leave it up to
Yeah.
them? Like I don't know.
Yeah, I think we were especially missing the Derby squad, which I think was kind of like the party team. And so,
Yes.
maybe that they might
Yes.
have gotten some more excitement going back at the lodge. But ultimately, all
Yeah.
right, that's going to be for Chicago Pride. I'm sorry, Chicago's finest. They
Finest.
are
Yes.
going to make it to the finals, which puts Team Pride and Team OK into losers last stand. And this is unfamiliar territory for Team Pride. They've been so dominant throughout the whole season,
Mhm.
and that this is going to be their first experience, and they're not thrilled with it. They said, "I'm glad that we didn't have to do this all the time."
And here's what I've been saying all along, Rob. Does playing in Losers Last Stand, getting experience with the complicated breadth of competitions we have here on Buddy Games, does that condition you and prepare you for the ultimate buddy game? And was it a disadvantage for Team Pride to not be battle tested enough? Because that was one of the things that especially Chicago's finest had going for them. They were in losers last stand almost every damn week, but they were winning, and they were like, any sort of like teamwork, when you're given more opportunities to try to like work together, figure out each other's strengths, like know, how to communicate. And I just think that it has to be an advantage to have do challenges together, because you're learning strengths and how to work together as a team, which is very important in a lot of these things. And while Team Pride was always doing well in the specific buddy games and staying out of the bottom, I don't think that they maybe got enough opportunities to work together in a do or die situation. Because
Hmm.
when you're doing just the regular buddy games, like that's not It's not the last stand. It's not the loser's last stand. It's not a situation where if you don't do the best, you're going to lose someone or you're going to be out completely. And I just don't think that they were ever in a situation where they were like truly like down to it and like in a do or die situation. So I think that this actually ends up not benefiting them when they get into a situation where like, oh, we finally have to do this component of the game
Yeah.
that's been an important piece of the whole game in the very last situation.
Well, I do agree with that because we got so much of where Chicago's finest were able to, come through in the losers last stand where their backs were against the wall. However, in this particular instance, it seems like both of them got to the puzzle and it was really just a battle of between Summer and Yo to see who was going to be able to put together the puzzle. So I think
Yeah.
that, if Summer was like just a little bit better with the puzzles, it wasn't necessarily like that. Uh, well, it's not like that Yo was like so tested from being in the puzzles or anything
Right.
that's why it seemed like that it took both of them a really long time.
But, and I want to get your thoughts on this. One of the things, and this might just be my own personal bias and how I like to see teams work together.
Hmm.
I felt like, and maybe this plays into it when you've got two people working on a puzzle. The energy of Team OK, they're making jokes, they're supporting each other, they're never making Yo feel bad if he messed up a piece. They're kind of like taking that same friendship kind of energy and, not putting extra pressure on Yo as he's trying to
Hmm.
figure out this puzzle, which I think like it's very
Summer
we've
loves
seen it
puzzles.
happen. Sorry? Well, I
Summer
guess
loves puzzles.
Summer does love puzzles, but the problem is I felt like Team Pride was getting frustrated, and the frustration was showing, and they were not communicating and helping Summer in a productive way. And I think that that's more likely to cause panic because we even see like Summer started to get really dejected near the end, trying to like figure out certain things. And you see Andrews getting frustrated. There's bickering between the team, and I just think that that energy is going to stress you out and
Hmm.
you are more likely to choke. And so I do kind of feel like maybe it wasn't, the end all be all of why Team OK eliminates Pride here,
Hmm.
but I do think it played a part
Yo does
in,
do
and
Rubik's cubes.
he does. And but I just felt like the supportive energy and because the rest of the team can see the puzzle and help you, like they can't physically go up and move pieces, but they can tell you like try that one, do that one. And I think that
Yeah.
the fact that Team Pride did not have enough opportunities where they had to like do this kind of problem solving and supporting each other, they kind of cracked under the pressure a little bit. And I'm not saying this is like the only reason why it didn't work out, but I feel like it maybe plays a part here. And I think that if I were doing the puzzle, I would want Team OK behind me, making a little
Hmm.
joke, but not making me feel bad about myself
Yeah.
if I feel their stress, I will get stressed. And I think if
Yes.
I hear Andrew getting stressed out behind me and bickering with Becca or whoever, I think that that's going to raise my stress and I'm going to start mentally like blanking on this puzzle. So that's my take on
Yeah.
how this ended up falling apart for
I
Pride
think
here.
that's a good point. And without talking to Yo or Summer, like hard to say like what was going through their minds when
Mhm.
that was going on. But I think what you're saying makes sense.
At least how it was presented to us in the
Yeah.
edit, that's how it seemed to me. We were seeing some bickering on the Pride side, and we saw, OK, just kind of like ribbing, but like in a supportive and loving way. And I just think as a soft baby bitch, as I've said many times on this podcast, this is my personal way that I feel I would thrive in a high pressure situation on a mental puzzle.
I
So
also thought that the puzzle seemed like a very hard puzzle, especially for buddy games. Like
yeah.
it seemed like that I could see this like literally on Survivor, which I feel like that on my own personal scale that I've invented, I feel like that should mean that it does not belong on buddy games. I don't know if they should have been like stacking beer cans in some specific
Yeah.
way, but
That's the
to
thing,
me,
do like a beer can tower or something like that. Like, there are ways to take,
why
like,
was this a
a
buddy game?
exactly. And that just goes back to what we've been saying, that it just didn't seem to have anything to do with what
Mhm.
the point of
Yeah,
this show is, and it felt like it was like, this is an idea from Survivor that we're going to just, so we could see this on this show. I want to see it so, like, concepts from games on shows like Survivor or Big Brother, but like buddy gamified. Make them
right.
silly. Make the puzzle something silly. It was just like a geometric kind of,
Like Qbert.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I was like, it just didn't have, there wasn't even anything on the blocks that's funny or silly. You know what I mean? They were just
Mhm.
red and blue blocks. Like, just more hot dogs.
More more just throw hot dogs into it. Yeah. So the first part of it was the ball and chain, and I felt like that
Yeah.
this was fine. You know, you had a
Just
little
tongue
bit
in
of the
cheek,
buddy
right?
games, a little bit of the buddy gamesifiedness
Mhm.
of it, where people were getting hit with the ball. Yo
You can't go
got
too far ahead because you're tethered to each other, so
Yeah, Yo
people
Yo
pulling
got
each other.
hit in the chin with his balls.
Yeah.
Then there was a moment where Becca is talking about how she was getting whipped with the balls, and Andrew was like, "Wait, what's that?"
Yeah. And honestly, like, if you're getting hit in the chin with your balls, you might need to call Dr. Mike. So we might need
Yeah,
him. That would be the best. That Okay, because you know how, like, on Survivor, we've got Dr. Joe or whoever on standby if anyone gets injured. I think that what Buddy Games needs is an on location doctor, Dr. Mike Sahalski. He is the like
yeah.
poster child for a doctor for buddy games,
Mhm.
because they're supposed to be getting hit in the nuts. I'm telling you,
It was
that was
supposed
part of
that
what
was part of it. Yeah.
they presented, more nut shots here, and I just
Mhm.
feel like in the latter half of the game, we
Yeah.
were getting a lot less nut
Well,
shots.
I've heard Josh Duhamel, like, on interviews talk about, like, in the real buddy games, like, one of the things they do is, like, you go and stand, like, on, like, a pole, like, in the middle of, like, the lake, and then you're in your underwear, and then, like, guys shoot you in the nuts with a paintball gun, and you have to not flinch, and if you do, then you're out. Like,
And
that's what happens at the
maybe we
real buddy games.
Yeah. And so maybe we don't need to go, because I mean, I
I
paintball
would watch
to
that.
yeah, I would too. And maybe CBS was like, "Oh, that's a bridge too far." But like, maybe
Mhm.
there's a meeting point somewhere between, where we landed and what buddy games truly is. Because I feel like somewhere along the line they lost their way and they got a little too basic.
Yeah. Yeah. Look, maybe Josh Duhamel and the production team is like, yeah, this is what we've been saying. The executives, they had their own ideas.
Mhm.
We got
I'd
too
love
many
to know.
notes. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's very
Okay.
possible that that's the case, and we're just harping on
Maybe
people
we need
that
to
had
watch the
no
Buddy
control.
Games movies, Jenny, to get a real sense of where Buddy Games should be. Maybe
Perhaps,
we've
and then,
lost the
like,
compass
okay,
of Buddy Games.
maybe this is our off-season, task, is we watch the source material, we
Yeah.
watch buddy
Five
the
people
first 2
have to
buddy
say they
games.
want that first.
Okay, 5 people. If 5 people leave a review, we will watch the buddy games, and then we can
Hmm.
do a buddy games think tank, even though I'm pretty sure that this this podcast has already functioned as the buddy
Yeah.
games think tank. But we maybe need to know a little bit more about the lore.
All right. We get down to our final buddy game, and we have, like, it's really set up to be like this end all be all obstacle course. I feel like I've heard Jeff Probst describe the Mergatory Challenge in very similar terms, in terms of like, oh, we wanted the biggest challenge that we could
Yeah.
find. All right, so here it is. We're gonna have Team OK versus Chicago's Finest in the end, and
Yeah.
Jenny, it really occurred to me that Buddy Games is the battle, as Josh Duhamel tells us, to find out this is going to determine who sucks the least. That's what
Yeah.
Buddy Games is all about. And I
And
really, yeah, go
well,
ahead.
I was just gonna say, was this a thing every episode? Because I felt like I only noted that Buddy that Josh started saying it's time to find out who sucks the least only in like the last couple episodes. Like it
Yeah.
was like he kind of decided it was like the tagline
Hmm.
um halfway through the show, and I was like, okay, this is the thing that like he found the identity through the show, because I don't remember this in the first half where he was saying time to find out who sucks the least.
It's definitely come up a bunch. I don't know at what point was the first who sucks the least, but I think it's interesting to discuss in terms of Buddy Games because who sucks the least is, as the tagline for the show, it does imply that all the teams do suck.
So yeah, like it's, but I also feel like that is probably key Buddy Games energy, like at
Hmm.
least Josh's vision, because I imagine they're all just ribbing each other. They're all just kind of like, and again, and I feel like that's why Team OK perfectly embodied what the spirit of Buddy Games is like you're laughing at your friend when like he slips and spills, and like you want all of these funny things to happen to each other because you're like, haha, we suck. Look at us. We're a bunch of
Hmm.
like, we don't even know what we're doing. Like, I don't want Buddy Games to become a like what an incredible specimen. Like it almost kind of bothered me that we had like police officers here where I'm like they are trained like very physical type in a lot of cases, like the training alone that you
Hmm.
go through to get on the police force is going to give you an advantage in a lot of these challenges. Like we want slubby like that maybe that is what it should be, because I don't want to watch someone compete physically and have it be like I'll watch the freaking Olympics if that's what I want to watch. I
Hmm.
want to watch people who are out of shape fall and eating hot dogs and like what that's what I think. And so if that's what this show is, then it is who sucks the least. And you need to lean into that. You need to lean into the fact that like yeah, we are a mess, but are we going to be the least mess? Like, are we going to lean into the ridiculousness of this situation and do as well as we could? Because
Hmm.
I don't find it interesting to watch people do things well. I just don't. Not
Yeah.
in terms of a reality show like this. That's not what I'm here for.
Yeah. Or people who do things well have to do things that are ridiculous. And I feel like that
Yes.
this challenge was not very ridiculous. I feel like that maybe the most
No.
ridiculous it was that it was sort of the go-kart that they had was sort of like fashioned into like a radio flyer. And I think
Yeah.
that there was a little something there with
But
that
that
of
was
like,
like 2 seconds. Like
yeah.
it was really cute at the beginning because they get into these wagons as you mentioned, and they're gonna go down a ramp that eventually like throws them into it was hay bales,
Hey,
right?
yeah.
um and what I loved about the wagon is that they had to get in like basically spooning each other. Like I loved seeing them like, because they had to like all get into the wagon and like legs
Hmm.
around each other's hips and arms like holding each other in place.
Yeah.
The visual of that was funny. We needed more wagon, like
Yeah. And they did bring
it
the
happened
wagon and
in
put the
seconds.
puzzle pieces in it, but basically they had to go around and I mean, it was very Survivor-esque of like, all right,
Yeah.
take the wagon and then get your puzzle pieces and untie the things and go through the obstacle course and ultimately get to a point where they had to build a fort. And
Like
I thought this was a very boring final
oh
challenge
my gosh.
for the Buddy Games. And I guess
What were
Team
they
OK
why the
has
forts?
built fences before, but
And each other's kids'
yeah,
cribs and
yeah, they build cribs, and so they have a history with woodworking, and it was just a matter of like it was like I felt like an uninteresting puzzle to watch in terms of like
mhm.
putting planks into a board and then you know putting the roof on a little like fort. It just that it did not do it for me.
They like add elements into it that are not just building the structure. Like
Mhm.
someone has to go into the fort and eat 20 hot dogs. I don't know. I just felt like there were opportunities to like pepper in silly little like side things that kind of take up time or
Mhm. Yeah.
challenge other
Like,
aspects
maybe
besides
you
just
could have been
running.
like the teams could have been like, could also be building your fort, but also like throwing water balloons at the other teams that were
Yeah.
working on building their fort.
Or they like you didn't even have to involve the other teams sabotaging each other. Like you could have had extras like off on the side, like throwing like just
I
things
like
that
the
make
idea that
this
you could be working on your own thing or like taking time to
if
be
you yeah,
throwing
like if you're in the way and you like there's only so many hands that can put boards into place
water
at a
balloons filled with
time.
Nair, Jenny. How about that?
Nair.
Yeah.
You want them to lose their hair?
Well, it's like then it's like, oh, I don't care. I'm just getting wet. But it's like, hey, I don't like, don't screw up my
Okay.
hair.
Well, I don't know if I don't know if I can co-sign the Nair, but I think that like you could do
All
something
right.
like
How about
equally
something?
ridiculous. Like
Yeah. Okay.
mayo.
Or
Like
honey.
you don't want to get hit. Yeah, like it could mayo and honey and maybe peanut butter. Like you know what I mean? Like you can add things that maybe won't like remove people's hair.
We're just spitballing, Jenny.
We're just
No,
it's the think tank, baby. That's what we're here
yeah.
for.
There's no bad ideas in brainstorming.
That's a good point. But I do think that like there were opportunities to be slinging condiments at each other and make them look a little ridiculous
Yeah.
because there was no mud on them, there was no paint on them, like they were completely clean.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of hay on their shirt. And I just felt like it wasn't silly enough. And it was
Hmm.
literally just watching them build a shack and then that was it.
Yeah.
Well, then they had to kayak and they okay, we gotta get them in the kayak again. And then we
Hmm.
went back to that big, what do they call it? It was like the Buddy Games tower or something,
Yeah.
like the giant tower that Rachel was afraid to jump off of.
Yeah.
Um, and then they just hoist up, they pull up a bucket of beer. And that was like
Yeah.
the one thing that they're like, we buddy gamified it because it's a
It
bucket
was
of
beer.
beer.
Yeah.
But I was like, you
Yeah.
could have been doing buddy games type silly stuff up until before that point, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah. And so it was a come from behind win for Team OK. Nice story. They lost
Mhm.
Craig early on. They persevered. They got
They
the music in you.
yes, we got the New Radicals, right? New
Yes,
Radicals. Yeah,
yes.
Get What You
That's
Give. Great,
yeah.
great
Yeah.
90s song.
This is a good song. Yeah.
Soundtrack when we got music in buddy games, like they spent money on the soundtrack and maybe
Yeah.
they could have scaled back a little bit of that and spent it in some other ways, but that's okay.
Well, I don't
That's
are
what the
we
think tank's
asking
for.
for them to spend more money? I feel like that
No,
the entire
spend it
scope of
differently.
tweaks that we've asked for, I think might cost like $37.
I'm basically just asking for hot dogs and condiments. Like
Go to
they just need to go
Costco. You
to
could get so many.
yeah, like so really that isn't the problem, but I did enjoy the music. It was a good like celebration song.
Yeah.
You
So,
got the music in you. Don't
Team
give up. Yeah.
OK.
Okay. You're gonna hoist the beer, spray the beer. And then they had the beers that were like, did you notice they had like Buddy Games
Yeah,
labels on them? They were
they were
like
like Rolling Rocks, but
branded.
they put like a Buddy Games
Yeah, they
label
were a
on there.
green bottle. But we got the moment of like when we're announcing that Team OK has won and like they're spraying each other with the beer like it's champagne. Like it was a fun little celebration. I was very happy for
Yeah.
them.
They brought everybody in. They brought in Team Chicago Pride. Like, hey, get in there. You're going to celebrate with us too.
I think I had to have a little cry first. So Elise was
Hmm.
sobbing. Took it hard that because they did have a reasonable lead. And did kind of blow it on the shack building.
Yeah.
But yeah, they brought them in and was like, let's celebrate. And this is where I wish that they had the other teams to come in and have a
Yeah.
little party. But
I mean,
listen,
right. Yeah. They could have at least had, Team Pride come in.
they probably were still there. They definitely hadn't left yet.
Yeah. I mean, they'd probably all go to the airport together. right?
And they could have, again, this is when they could have like pranked them, like prank the winners, like come in and like you won, but like it's camp, like we're gonna be silly, and then maybe this is when you get like hit with water balloons
Yeah.
filled with ketchup or something. I don't know, like
Yeah.
just it
And Josh
just
Duhamel's
felt
like,
like
oh, actually, that we lost the money. Here's 200,000 hot dogs.
200,000 glizzies for you.
That's
Go at
probably
it.
monetarily, I think that's probably worth more than $200,000.
I mean, food is very expensive at this point.
Food is
Um,
expensive. Yeah.
it's really expensive. But yeah, like, we got a cute little montage. Again, we get to see that the team okay. It's more than just the four of them. They got a whole group back home doing the newly branded Brolympics. We
Bro
got
Olympics
Josh
is going to be
slapping.
lit this year.
Oh, it's gonna be because they're gonna have a bigger budget for the Bro Olympics.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got Josh slapping Yo's cheeks and celebrating. He's very happy. I don't know. I think he just really thinks that Yo's cheeks are like, slappable. I don't know. It's like he's always like, it's like when like people are grabbing like little babies' cheeks. They're like, oh, your little cheeks. Like that's Josh and Yo's relationship, and I love it. It's adorable. And we
Yeah.
get confirmation that Craig is getting a full cut.
Full cut.
Craig,
Boom.
he was gone episode 2, but they did it for Craig, and he gets a full cut of this 200K.
They're going to give him a full cut, but they're also probably going to like hold it over his head every time they see him.
Yeah.
Like, they go out for dinner and it's like, all right, well, you mean Craig?
Like,
Come
Craig,
on.
you can cover this. You didn't really earn the
Craig,
money.
come on,
Yeah.
Craig,
Yeah.
come on. Don't you have that 50K sitting around? Come on.
Yeah.
How did you really help that much? I mean, come on.
Like
Craig the giraffe did more than you did. Come on.
Exactly.
Come on. Yeah.
More credit to Craig the giraffe. So
Craig better
cover
take
this
these guys out for, a nice dinner at the very least.
for sure. I
For
hope
sure.
so.
Yeah.
Not just glizzies.
And then, Jenny, what about for us moving forward? Do we have any Buddy Games postseason coverage that we want to work on?
I mean, it's up to you and the powers that be and the buddies that be.
Yes,
I feel like
the buddies that be.
Some of the buddies.
Here's
If
what I would like to do.
If there's like untold stuff that we really missed, like I would love to hear it.
I would love a like Buddy Games reunion.
Yes.
With like just like here's the day, here's the time. Whoever wants to join us, can you make it? Great. If not, like that's because I don't like the he said she said of it all.
Like, and I totally agree. And I'm glad that we got to talk to Debbie, and that was like a really fun interview. And I don't know if trying to do this means that we can't get Debbie, but I like the idea of like, because part of the fun is like hearing them interact and like tell how things went. And I know there was lots we missed just based on like some of the things we have heard. So a little reunion where everyone can kind of talk about it and tell some stories. I think that sounds great.
That'd be fun. You can hear a little bit more lodge life. Yeah. All right. There you go.
Instead of a bunch of individual conversations, I think that you nailed it there, Rob. I think that's a great idea.
Well, and Jenny, really, the true story of Buddy Games is the buddies we made along the way. And we had so much fun with these last 8 weeks talking about Buddy Games. More fun than we might have thought we were originally going to have.
I completely co-sign that. I loved the moment where we were like, is this show good? Are we having fun here?
Yeah. And ultimately it was like, I don't know.
It depended on the week. There were a few weeks where we were like, really high on
the middle was the best part.
But they did enough that
it got us invested. The Oreo of TV shows.
Yeah.
Well,
but I like the cookie of the Oreo.
Yeah.
The best,
okay.
So
I felt like that the middle was the best. I don't know what your analogy would be for that.
I mean, it is it's a double stuffed Oreo if the filling is your favorite part. It's just not my personal favorite. But also I think that the cookie of the Oreo is an important piece to enjoy the filling. So maybe it isn't the right analogy, because I felt like you could have beefed up the other ends.
The hot dog.
Yeah, maybe it's a glizzy. But
Mhm.
like the middle of the hot dog was a
If you don't
little,
like buns.
or like it was cold on the outside, which is not how a heated up glizzy would be, but like and then
Yeah,
the
okay.
inside's like hot. I don't know.
We lost the
Anyway, there is
metaphor,
an
but we like the
analogy.
middle of the season the best.
Yes, and yeah, and
Like,
they got
probably,
us
like, around
invested
th 3,
enough.
3, 4, 5, 6, I think we're probably, like, the best
That was
Buddy
the
Games
peak.
episodes, yeah.
Yeah, and I just think that when it was hot, they got us invested enough in the format and the show itself that we want to
Yeah,
see it do well.
yeah.
So we care.
Yeah,
We
I know
want
we've talked
buddy
a lot
games
about
to
the
be
pageant
good.
queens, but, like, the meaner coladas of it all, and,
Mhm.
there were, like, definitely, like, fun moments, like, along the way, especially, like, in the middle. We thought that, some of the stuff with, Team Philly that was a fun dynamic.
Yeah.
It
I think
was
it was, very fun to have, like, a married couple there, like, I know I'm advocating for divorces,
Mhm,
messy divorces, on future, buddy games, but I think that the dynamic of having, like, one married couple was really funny, especially because, like, I thought that Erica and Anthony were really fun, and their
mhm.
dynamic together was really funny. So, if they could do fun little casting things like that, have some fun people like that with like a pre-existing relationship that's a little bit more complicated than um just buddies. Oh, how about a divorced couple
Ooh, and,
on the same
d
team?
on the same team? No, how about a
Yeah.
divorced couple and they each have their own team?
Okay, that also could be really fun. I like both. And
Yeah,
if the thing is if I am advocating for more divorcees, we can do both. We can
mhm,
have the divorced couple with their own team, and then we also can have a team where two of the people on the team are divorced.
yeah.
Like these are things that when people are co-parenting, like they have a relationship, but maybe it's a little complicated. It's not necessarily always bad, but maybe it's a little bit like I'm way more likely to talk crap on this person because I'm not married to them anymore and I see their flaws a little bit more. I just think there's something there.
Okay.
We'll see.
Jenny, we spent way more time talking about buddy games than anybody else in the entire
Yep.
world. So,
Yep.
congratulations to you on another feather in your cap.
Thank you. And to you, I mean, I couldn't have done it without you. I appreciate when we get to do shows that are a little silly and don't take themselves seriously because I feel like that really embodies the spirit of hit or quit and our friendship as well.
Mhm.
So I'm really glad that we got a little bit of that. And that's really our main criticism is that we just wanted more of that. So
Yeah,
but it was still a good time all in all. And I'm proud of us for doing it and getting through it.
we did it. All right,
We
Jenny,
did
what
it.
else is coming up for you?
Um, we are ending our buddy games coverage here, but Hit or Quit is not dead because Chappelle and I are still covering House of Villains.
Mhm.
Um, we still have to catch up on this week's episode. So there's been lots of traveling going on for both of us. So we will be catching up very soon to cover that episode. That can also be on the if you're not subscribed to the Hit or Quit feed, I don't know how you're here, but make sure you are following for that. It's what Rob has a website.com/hit or quit feed, right, Rob?
Yeah. Yep.
And let Chappelle and I give us some reviews. Let us know how you're liking the coverage because we are definitely having a great time with it. And Rob, like since we're not going to be, you know, we're on, I guess, a little mini Yachtis unless we're going to do this Buddy Games reunion. Um, if you find the time in your very busy schedule to get caught up on the House of Villains and want to hop in at some point to talk to Chappelle and I again, the door is always open.
Yes, I would love that.
Because I'll miss talking to you.
Yeah.
It's gonna be weird. We've been doing
It'll be
this
a
every
little
week.
it'll be a little weird, but you and Chappelle are gonna hold it down on House of
Yeah,
Villains, and then we'll pick up some
we'll
new
pick
show
up.
to hit or quit when we get into January. That's prime
Yeah,
time
there's
hit or quit
always
season.
yeah, January is always when they hit us with something really weird. So I have faith that the weird and sometimes bad is still on the horizon. But yeah, in the meantime,
Mhm.
anything else I'm up to, you can check out on Twitter/X at Jenny Autumn. And yeah, I've had a great time, and I appreciate all the people that either watched Buddy Games or didn't watch Buddy Games and just came and hang out with us. So it was great.
Vibed out with us. Yes. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Thanks everybody from Buddy Games also that was
Yes.
listening along. We appreciate you. Thank you
We love
for
you.
not getting too mad at us at any point during the
They have
season.
a
We
good
really
they
appreciate
have a good
that.
sense of humor.
Good spirit about the show.
Mhm.
So thank you so much. Appreciate everybody who came with us on this Buddy Games journey as listeners. We will be back with much more here on Rob is a Podcast. Go to robisawebsite.com/subscribe for everything we're doing. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.